Bonjour ou bonsoir à tout le monde. Mais donc aujourd'hui, avec Thao, nous allons vous présenter donc la contribution des laboratoires de médecine pour le contrôle de l'infection à Trematode zoonotique d'origine alimentaire chez les humains dans le nord et le centre du Vietnam. Alors, donc, lorsqu'on va dans le site de l'OMS, donc les principaux faits qui sont les suivants. Donc, les infections à trématode d'origine alimentaire entraînent chaque année dans le monde plus de 2 millions d'années de vie perdues ou vécues avec une incapacité. Donc, les personnes qui sont infectées, donc, lorsqu'ils consomment du poisson, des crustacés ou des légumes crus qui hébergent les larves des parasites. Les trématodes d'origine alimentaire sont plus courants en Asie du Sud-Est et en Amérique du Sud. Les infections à trématodes d'origine alimentaire provoquent des pathologies hépatiques et pulmonaires qui sont très graves. Et alors, toujours dans le site de l'OMS, l'OMS nous dit que la prévention et la prise en charge des trématodes d'origine alimentaire nécessitent une collaboration intersectorielle à l'interface entre l'homme, l'animal et les écosystèmes. Donc, c'est pour ça le projet Foodting, donc, qui est un énorme projet, il va prendre les 3 secteurs, donc les écosystèmes, et donc les animaux et l'humain. Donc, nous, avec Thao, avec le NIMP, qui est le National Institute of Malaria Parasitologie et Entomologie, on va prendre le secteur humain. Et alors, ici, je vous présente la carte du Vietnam. Et donc, vous voyez les 2 provinces, donc Nguyen et le Taïwan, donc qui sont donc en bleu clair. Et alors, on a choisi ces 2 provinces parce que la première qui est le Nguyen. Alors ici, vous voyez qu'il y a un lac artificiel qui s'appelle le Tac Bac lac. Et donc, c'est un lac qui a été généré à partir d'un barrage qui a été construit en 1970. Et donc, c'est le lac qui est un lac qui nourrit principalement les villages aux alentours en poissons et en crustacés. Et alors, la deuxième province, qui est la province de Taïwan, mais donc là, cette province, elle a été choisie parce que les habitants, donc 40% de la population dans cette province, ils ont des étangs privés, et donc là où ils font de l'aquaculture, donc ils élèvent leurs poissons, ils ont des jardins, ils ont des animaux, et donc là, ça fait un écosystème qui est vraiment propice aux infections parasitaires. Et alors, donc, le projet, on a quatre étapes de projet, mais donc, ça fait déjà longtemps qu'on travaille dessus. Mais alors, donc, la première réponse à laquelle, donc, on voulait avoir des réponses, donc, c'était la prévalence. Mais donc, on a trouvé que 40% de la population dans ces 2 provinces, donc, ils sont infectés par clonorcécinensis, donc, qui est un trématode d'origine alimentaire. Et alors, on a établi le lien entre donc, ces infections et la consommation de poissons crus ou qui est mal cuit. Et alors, la troisième partie de ce travail, c'était donc de conscientiser et alors d'améliorer la connaissance et les attitudes et les pratiques des gens pour qu'ils se prémunissent de ces infections à trématode. Mais donc, la partie qui nous intéresse aujourd'hui, et donc ça, c'est la dernière partie du projet, mais donc c'est vraiment le statut des laboratoires de diagnostic, que ce soit les CDC ou les centres de santé de district, et donc voir comment ça tourne, voir si on peut les améliorer pour, in fine, améliorer le diagnostic. Et donc, ici, je vais laisser Thao donc continuer. Please, Thao, it's for you.
Thank you very much, Hafid, for introducing. I will continue with the presentation. So we want to observe to see the current status of the laboratory in the provincial and district health centers. So we visit totally 14 the health center. In Yên Bái province, we visit the Yên Bái provincial CDC and 4 district health center. But in Thanh Hóa province, because it have more districts, the number of districts in the Thanh Hóa province, so that's why in Thanh Hóa province we visit the CDC and also the 8 district health center. And when we come to all of 14 health center, and when we visit them, we interview one leader or 1 lab manager and 2 technicians in each of laboratory. So totally we interview 14 leader or manager and 28 technician. And we build the questionnaire and also the checklist to observe the laboratory based on some document from the WHO, or we use the ISO standards and some Vietnamese document related to the laboratory capacity assessment. So before I present to you the current status of the laboratory, I want to brief to you to introduce the health system in Vietnam. So in Vietnam, we the health system divide in the 3 parts: the public-private system, the public preventive system, and private preventive system. But in our projects, we mainly focus on the public-private system. That we want to emphasize that all of the laboratory we visit is represent for the preventive medicine, not in the clinics hospital. And for preventive medicine in Vietnam, we have 4 levels from the national level under the Ministry of Health. It has several research institutes related to the human health, and in the national level, we collaborate with the National Institute of Malariology, Parasitology, and Entomology. And when we visit the provincial level, we work with the CDC that under managed from the Department of Health. But the Department of Health is belong to the Provincial People Committee. And in the district level, we visit the district health center that in the under the CDC. Before 2019 in Vietnam, we don't have the CDC model system. In the provincial level, we have many health center, for example, HIV or preventive medicine, parasitology, social disease preventive center. But since 2019, the policy of Ministry of Health in Vietnam changing, so they combine all of the health center in the provincial to the in group them and combine in only one center. We call the provincial center disease control, or provincial CDC. And in the district health center, we have the 2 types of the district health center. The one is the dual function district health center that combine the district health combined with the district hospital together. But if in the districts they have the hospital level 2, the hospital can work independently to the health center. And this one is just showing to you that in Vietnam we have 4 levels of the hospital, from level 4 to level 1, and the highest is a level 1. And now I will report to you what we see in the status of the laboratories that we visit. So we see some good point or strength of the laboratory, but because of the limited time of the seminar, so in this presentation, we thus present some problem or issues that we observe in the laboratory. And this one is the weakness of the laboratory that we think they can improve in the future. So we see many problems occur in the laboratory that we visit. So the primacy are unsuitable for laboratory operation in the most of laboratories that we visit. The quality system is not developed for all kinds of the lab. We know that they have draft of the quality system, but the level is low in almost of the labs that we visit, and we see many outdated equipment. A lot of machines are now stopping for work because they have no sample, and the equipment are not maintained in the good condition. For example, they keep in the hot temperature, and some no thermometer to control the temperature for each of the fridge or the freezer and incubator. And one important thing that many equipment are not routinely maintained or capricious, especially for the pipette. Some center thus broken, they will ask the firm to come to see, but if not, they will use the pipette for a very long time. And several equipment did not have the logbook. Each of the laboratories, they have the SOP, but not for all kind of tests. Some tests, they did not develop the SOP, especially for the parasitology test. And we see in the many kit box, they do not record the lot of the kit, or they forgot to write down the open date when they open the kit. Some technicians did not follow well the recommendation of the kit, like they store it not in the good temperature, or they keep some reagent even the kit is finished, and they use this ligand for the next test. And one thing we see that is lack of the records electronically of the test result or the patient information in different visits. For example, they keep the information in the hard copy, and when the next time the patient come to visit the hospital or the center, they did not link to the previous result of the patient. And it's lack of the internal and external control. We see only 2 to 3 centers that report that they have invited the internal and external control for this laboratory. And one thing is important too, that we see some mode of the room or the cabinet for diagnostics tuberculosis is not equipped accordingly, that are unsafe for the technician, or they use the same room for diagnosis tuberculosis and the parasitology, and the fire extinguishers were put in a single place. We see it's mode of the laboratory is lack of the workforce. Like we see in some districts, health center, including the hospital inside, they have only 3 technicians to do all kind of tests in the hospital. So that's why the heads of the laboratory have to perform the test as a technical. And the technician have lacks knowledge on the quality system and the biobanking. When we talk about the biobanking, no one thinking, considering about keep the positive sample for their own control or for the further purpose in the future. And technicians will not change regularly, for every year. Sometimes if have the program or the project invite, they will send the technician to join the training course, but they do not require or send the technician for take the training course regularly. And in Thanh Hóa province, all of the district health center, they don't have the patient to come to the center for health check or for treatment, because in Thanh Hóa province, at all of the districts, they have the hospital level 2. So that's why almost patients will come to the hospital. They don't come to the district health center. So this one is some picture that you see. It has some good thing. For example, they have the good machine. The left is good, clean, and they have more patients to come to Nguyen Bai province, or they have the software to manage or record the data of the lab, and they have SOP, but not for all of the tests. But here you can see some labs have the permission is very poor. It's not suitable for the health facility. They borrow the building from another organization, not for the health purpose. And some of the machine, for example, ELISA or reading cell here is stopped working from 3 years ago until now because they have no sample. Or they keep the broken machine in the same place with the working machine and some outdated machine. And here we can see the open kits already open, but no write down the open date here, and they do not record the lot of the kit, and the fridge is not clean and arranged well. And this one is the hard copy of the one external control in one center, but we did not see it in the other center. And here we can see that this one is the laboratory room for tuberculosis diagnosis. So the structure is very poor, and inside the room is not met the requirement with the cabinet and no filter for the flow. And the same with another one here. And all of the fire existing is blockage in the same place. They did not distribute in several points in the laboratory. And in this picture, you can see that the drinking water is also keep the same freeze with the reagent. It's not safe for the technician. When we see the specifics on the diagnostics, foodborne zoonotic trematode, we compare in we see in the provincial level in the Thanh Hóa and CDC, they have the separate room for the parasitology test. But in the districts, we did not see the separate room for the parasitology test. And in Nguyen Bai province, they apply the cards for the parasitology test. They do not have the ELISA system, and the number of the sample for parasitology around 20 to 30 samples per month. And it have 2 doctors and 2 technicians had responsible for the parasitology in the CDC. And in this, in Nguyen Bai, the result will not record electrical and link with the other test in the in the center. But in Thanh Hóa province, they have the ELISA system that they have the ELISA test for Fasciola and Toxocala, and they report that 1 year they perform around 200 samples for parasitology, but most of sample is not come from patient to visit to check out, but most of the sample for the purpose of the investigation program from the or from the other project. And here the picture showing in the laboratory parasitology lab in Nguyen Bai province in up and down in Thanh Hóa province is not clean, and some kind of machine is stopped working. And when we talk about the diagnostics, foodborne zoonotic trematode or parasite in the district health center. So in Nguyen Bai province, because the hospital under the district health center, so that they have the service on the diagnosed small liver fluke, and they have around 10 to 20 chronic sinensis patients per month, but they do not provide the service for Fasciola test because they have no ELISA system. But in Thanh Hóa province, 2 district health centers have the ELISA system to perform the fasciolar test. But after 2019, the system is stopped because the project end of the project, and they do not have the sample. And they have performed the CATOCAT techniques to diagnose a small liver fluke when they have the project from the CDC or from the other organization. And when we interviewed 28 technicians, we found that more than half of technicians get the specific training course on the parasitology, and the 13 technicians have performed the CATOCAT in the center, and no technician have performed the formalin ether concentration technique, and only 4 technicians has performed the ELISA before. So after we visit them, we make some recommendation for all the lab that they need to develop the quality system. The lab must have the internal and external control, maintain and calibration for machine and equipment. Laboratory is very important, and they should have improved the primacy and the room quality for the laboratory. The fire extinguishers must be well distributed in the lab and not placed in the single place. The lab that make diagnosis for the tuberculosis should be equipped accordingly. We see many buildings are to be adapted need for the lab as well as safety for the personnel. And for the kit, the manufacturer instruction must be followed for, on how to use, storage condition, and consider the expiry dates. And we also make some recommend for the provincial level or the CDC that they should consider the number of the lab. They should combine them and connect with the hospital. CDC must serve as a model for the district health center and must have responsibility for the district health center by guiding them to how to choose the kits, equipment, device, training for the technician, guidance for the quality system, have them in the purchase or equipment kit at the group or the center, and order this the same time or get the maintained in the same time, and should be considered on the biobank management. And after we visit each of the center, after finished work, we take some picture with the technician in the lab. So after we see the problem of the laboratory, so we give them the recommendation, and we invite all of the interview technician to join the training course on the laboratory, the training course on the laboratory diagnosis for the foodborne zoonotic Trematode. So we organize this training course in last July with the trainee from the LHUB-ULB, from NIMPE in Vietnam, from ITM in Antwerp, and the Institute of Ecology and Biology Resource in Vietnam. In this training, we invite 28 lab technicians and 4 health staff from the 4 communes in our study. And we divide in the theory part and the practical part. In the theory part, they give them the overview of the foodborne fluke, includes small liver fluke, large liver fluke, and intestinal fluke, lung fluke. And we give them the principle of the examination technique. We also give them the overview of the laboratory management and the quality system and the biobanking. And in practical past, we give them opportunity to practice with the CATOCAT technique, formalin ether concentration technique, ELISA, and the fruit finder. And after the training course, we see that a proportion of participants have the correct answer on transmission of the fluke is increased significantly increased. So we can see in this finger, the blue color is the proportion of participants have the correct answer before the changing course. It from the 30%, 40% until the 80%. But after the changing course, the proportion of participants have the correct answer is increased very high, from 100% for transmission rule of the large liver fluke, small liver fluke, and lung fluke. And for minus intestinal fluke is also increasing more than 30%. And we can see in the right-hand side, when we ask them to lead at least 3 prevention measures for small liver fluke and large liver fluke, we can see the effectiveness of the changing course, that the proportion of people can lead the preventive medicine is higher than before the changing. And this one is showing the proportion of participants have the correct answer on the 3 techniques. For the diagnosis technique, we asked about the material of the CATOCAT from the formalin and hair concentration technique, the principle of the formalin concentration technique, the steps of the ELISA techniques, and identify the parasite egg. And we can see here if the proportion of the correct answer is increased after the changing course. For CATOCAT and formalin hair concentration technique, it's 100% of the people have the correct answer after the changing course. And for the other question is also at the high proportion. And we can see this one for the theory part. We have the maximum total is 20 points, and the mean score for the theory part, the knowledge in the theory part is increased from 11 to 17. The mean from 6 to 16, and after the changing course is the mean and the maximum score is from 14 to 20, and it's significantly on the using the statistical test. And for the practical part, with the identity, the parasite egg, after the changing course, all of the participants have the correct answer on the S morphology. But for the ELISA, before the changing course, only 5 people have performed that before. But after the changing course, all participants know step by step, and they practice step by step of the ELISA assay. And for the fluke finder, before is no one hear about this technique. This technique is actually used to diagnose the fasciolar egg. And after the changing course, all participants can perform this technique. And this one is some picture we took from the changing course. You can see here is Hafid is support the technician to do the ELISA, and this one is the picture in the theory class of the course, and this one the people is under the microscope to looking for the fasciola with the fluke after they take the fluke finder technique, and after the changing course we give them the certificates. And this one is almost of the participants in the changing course. Yes, my presentation is finished, and thank you very much for the attention.